Hello and welcome. Today we're going to take a closer look at my new swatch book for Roman Szmal. This is a very elaborate swatch book. It's different than the swatch cards that I usually make for my watercolors. Even though I haven't done those in a while as well. These are done on Fabriano Studio watercolor paper, which is 25% cotton and 75% cellulose. But this one is just a little bit different. And it's supposed to go this way. These are more like paint chips to see the colors first and then the names. I will show you the supplies that I've used to make these paint chips. But all the information is on the back. And I have ordered them in the same way that I have them in these palettes. So 28 colors for each page. And you can see it that way. The first idea I had was to put the paint chips on top. But the problem is, as soon as something comes in contact with the palette, it starts to move. The second idea was to put like a swatch sheet inside the palette, but if you put anything else inside this palette, it won't close, because you might be able to see it, because with the magnets at the bottom of these full pans, it raises a little bit above the palette, so it doesn't fit anything else inside the palette, otherwise it won't close. So these palettes are very slim. So these palettes take up less space because they are thinner. I have 9 palettes in total, so 9 pages as well, and 9 of these swatch sheets. Which the first part is in order of the Roman Szmal catalog, and these 2 palettes are dedicated to the newer released colors. I think this one was the new releases of 2023, and these are new releases of late last year. I also added another page to this magnetic swatch book, and that's this whiteboard paper, or is it sheet? That's also magnetic. It's pretty cool. And this is like an idea I have for a painting. I want to change out the front cover because it's done with grain watercolors, and I want one that represents the Roman Szmal watercolors. And I was thinking about using Quin Gold, Perylene Red Deep, Paint Grey and Misty Morning for that painting. I put it aside in this palette, which looks cool in this palette, I'm not gonna lie. But this way I can easily plan out my color palette before I start painting. And so let's take a close look at the swatch book. Like I said, this is page 1. Page 2 with the reds and purples. I might add like some sort of tab and page numbers. Then we have the blues and some of the purples. Misty Morning is missing over here. This is one of my favorite pages. It contains like the blue leaning greens and the beautiful greens. I love this page. It makes me happy. Then we have the yellow earth tones. This row looks really similar to each other. Some might granulate a bit more than the other, but especially these 4. If you pick one of these 4, you're set. Or if you want a granulating option, it's these 3. Then we have the deeper earth tones. So here we have the burnt siennas, the raw umbers, and the burnt umber, light color, and part is pink. The neutrals, I picked out Paint Grey from that page. Then we have, I think this is like a fun palette. It's the colors that were released in 2023. 2023. Am I saying that correctly? Was it 2023 or 2024? I'm not sure. But I got these watercolors at the same time as all of these colors. And these colors were released last year. So I have a video of all of these watercolors swatched out. I'm starting to memorize these colors. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I also found out that 9 pages is the maximum it can fit in this A5 size ring binder. So I've decided to put this whiteboard paper on. Wait a sec, I can store my whiteboard paper in the front pocket. I like to have a painting in front that says this is my Roman Szmal palette. But this is pretty handy. I'm gonna think about it. So how did I make these paint chips? This is the template that I used. It's an A5 size paper and I just printed this 28 grid. And inside of these grids I used a piece of metal tape. And this one is such a great metal tape. It's not as sharp as the one that I used for my Daniel Smith palette. These are really soft, so I really like using this tape. The second step was making a swatch sheet for my paint chips. And I've used the Bauhang watercolor paper. It's a 200 GSM. And I've got this stack. Or I got these papers from Art Miranda. And they were like 70 cents a sheet. And for this project I used 2.5 pages. So it's not too bad. And since it's 200 GSM, it's a little bit more flimsy. I don't mind this paper. I also use it to draw and paint on. Then I use the same layout as the Roman Szmal catalog. So it's 5 across and 6 down. This is what's left. And then I had to laminate all of these colors, and I used a packing tape this size. And I would just cut a piece off, fold it and cut the sides off, which was a very slow process. After swatching, laminating, I magnetized every swatch paint chip. This was difficult as well because I was using a steel scissor. I think it was steel. So it magnetized to the magnet tape. It wasn't too difficult, but still, it was odd that the scissor was getting pulled by the magnet tape. But these are really easy to cut. I just got them from Hema. It's a Dutch chain store. I think that's what it's called. But I think you can get these magnet tapes almost everywhere. They don't have a strong adhesive. So I'm afraid of these coming loose, of popping loose. But if that happens, I will use super glue to stick it back on. But I like the fact that it's almost completely flushed. And it's strong enough to hold them on the metal tape and on the whiteboard. And to make these stickers, I used some waterproof sticker paper. But isn't this cool? And having this is Blister Morning and Paint Gray. So having the information on the full pen and on the paint chip. And I can easily create my very flexible palette. And I hope someday Roman Szmal will come out with tubes. But if you would want a half pen of Misty Morning, you either have to cut the one up that you already have or buy a half pen. And if you had a tube, you can easily fill up a full pen and a half pen. I'm going on a tangent. So what do you think of this flexible Swatchbook. Is it too much? Or I think it's too much. It might be too much. But I like it. And it took so much time. I watched Netflix 4 seasons and I watched the cutscenes of The Last of Us on YouTube while making these paint chips. But I really like the result. Like I said, I'm a very visual person and I need to see what I have. And also, do you need to have the names at the front or you don't mind to have it in the back? Because this one is the best of both worlds. You have the name on the front and you can easily compare the colors in this manner or like this. With these paint chips you only have the color to go off. And then you have to look at, oh, is it staining or not? Or does it consist of 3 or 4 pigments? Or is it a single pigment color? So you have to turn around. So let me know down below how you have your swatchbook organized because I'm interested. So I've used these 4 colors for the painting. They didn't all work out. I will show you. This one was the first one, which as you can see it looks horrible and blotchy because the paper was drying and I was still painting, so it's really overworked. And then I did make this one. Started to use just a little bit of white ink, but I didn't really like the look, but I did like the colors together. I was painting on Bauhong Academy watercolor. And then we have this one. It looks slightly better. And this is the final version. I like it a lot more than the very first one, so there is improvement. I need to work on my painting skills a lot more, but it helps to visualize the colors that I pick. And this painting is going to be the placeholder for the front page. I'm not completely in love, but I like it. I use Misty Morning and Payne's Grey for the first set of clouds. Then the Perylene Red Deep and a Queen Gold. And I mixed some Payne's Grey and Perylene Red Deep for the silhouette. And I like how it turned out. And I was really struggling with Misty Morning because it's a really light color and doesn't have much of a value range. So I thought, let's play with a different color, cobalt blue. And I did these quick cloud-like studies. I wouldn't call them cloud studies at all, but I was practicing lifting techniques and putting more colors down while it's damp. But as you can see, the Misty Morning doesn't have a lot of range. It works for very simple skies, but I like the cobalt blue a whole lot more because it has a lot more value in a color. I like the muted gray look of the Misty Morning. It's also a color that really bleeds through washi tape. Yeah, so I think this painting will be a great placeholder for the front page for now. I think if you don't need it laminated, I'm just a messy person and I thought the lamination would help. You don't also need to magnetize anything, or you can magnetize it and put it inside the palette. That would also work. This also really, or inside the palette, but that's your mixing spot, maybe on here. Or if you have like a big steel metal wall, you can stick your swatches on it. Like something like this is also a great option. These are also Roman Szmal watercolors. These are also swatches of Roman Szmal watercolors. And I just hate removing the swatch cards and rearranging everything. But that's just the me issue. But it looks so beautiful. That's the last page. These are swatches from my original palette that I had before I bought every single color. But I'm not a big fan of having to remove the colors from the sleeves. But this is an easier way of sorting your swatch cards. I just did it in this manner because I'm a little insane and I just want to see the color first, play around with it, and using more of these colors as well and see where they are. If they are on the whiteboard, it means they are in a different palette, something like that. Roman Szmal should really come out with watercolor tubes. But I'm really loving this swatchbook. It seems to be sticking in place pretty well. Sometimes I will find a color that sticks on the other side, but that can happen because the steel plate is also on the other side. But for now, I like it. I also want to add, because of the steel plate, it's slightly heavier than a regular page. I think this is a great way for me to organize all my watercolor paints. So let me know down below, how do you store your watercolor swatches? Is it in a folder like this? Or is it just inside of your palette? Because I know not everyone is insane like me and has such a large watercolor collection. But if I want to get more use out of all my Roman Szmal watercolors, I think this is a great way. So that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I definitely hope to see you in the next video. Until then, bye YouTube!